Good evening and welcome, connoisseurs of fine common cardboard, to today's live stream and to this edition of Let's Tune, where we take Pauper Commander decks, great Pauper Commander decks that we love and enjoy, and we take and we tune them up, spice them up, give them a little nitrous oxide, and then get them back on the road and win in games. One of those decks that we're going to be working on this week and today's episode is Satyr Enchanter. Satyr Enchanter is an amazing Selsyna commander. It's criminally underplayed, as I wrote in the description, and one that is able to both apply pressure, answer threats, and draw so many cards. If you've never been on the other side of a Satyr Enchanter who is interacting with you, killing you with a Aura Gnarlid, and also 7 cards in hand, then maybe you're lucky. Gatorbait TV, welcome, friend. Glad to have you here. You indeed are first. So yeah, just really grateful to have you all here today. We're gonna, it's gonna be a little bit of a shorter stream for those of you who appreciate that, because we're gonna be just working to tune around the edges. Satyr Enchanter is already an established deck. It's got ways of being built that make sense. There's a wide array of cards that you can play that make sense too. Some people focus more into the ability to cantrip very cheaply, and we're going to explore that a little bit. And for those of you unfamiliar with that, that means we're going to play lots of 1 mana enchantments, some of them that are going to draw a card, basically to move through our deck quickly. Or we can go into a route of playing more high-value cards that are more flexible and having more meat in the deck. I'm not exactly sold on exactly which way is the best, but we're going to figure it out together. So before we get started here, I do want to briefly recognize and express gratitude for all of the people who make these live streams possible and who continually validate what it is that we're doing here on this stream, which is promoting and expanding awareness around this incredible format of Magic the Gathering called Pauper Commander. And to express a little bit about why that's important, Pauper Commander is quite simply one of the easiest, most accessible ways to get into Magic. And beyond that, it has an incredible potential to really capture your attention as a Magic player, to channel your ability to creatively express yourself in your deck building, and to work within some constraints that actually challenge you to play with cards that maybe you've never seen before. Maybe cards that you wouldn't regularly interact with. If you're playing in Modern, many of the cards are not going to look familiar to you. If you're a Limited player, you're actually getting to play with cards that you played in Limited because they're really, really good here. We're not playing with bad cards. We're playing with cards that have not found a home yet. So, to give gratitude for the folks who make this possible and to expand the awareness around what we're doing here, I want to thank you all for that. So we have a new patron member, Jerry. Thank you, friend. We have Zach, Scooby, Chris, Tristan, William, Paul, Corey, Derek, Devin, Ian, Bobby Fine, Jin Shooting Star, and our longest running patron, Noyark. So thank you all for your support. If you too are interested in becoming a patron of the Common Connoisseurs and getting access to the exclusive section of our Discord, where I share some of my spicier tech, some of my thoughts around meta, and things like that, this is what I recommend that you do here. Let me get us over to there. Bingo. This is our Common Connoisseurs patron page, where we have everything from half the cost of a cup of coffee, $2 a month, which grants you access to that channel, all the way up to $10 a month here, which grants you early access to the videos when we've got edited content. It's also going to give you access to all the interfaces that I've custom made for this channel. And that value is pretty enormous. You pay 50 to $100 to do that through owned.gg. So yeah, consider supporting the channel if it's within your means. And if not, that's totally fine too. You're still a connoisseur and you're absolutely welcome here. Now, with that said, let's get on to this particular deck. And of course, if you're in chat right now, and you can let me know whether the audio is coming through clean and clear, whether everything's working. Of course, let me know how you're doing, where you're coming from, and maybe a deck that you're excited about. So what you're going to see here in this build is that there's a sideboard of 39 cards, okay? Essentially in Satyr Enchanter, like the floor for any effect that is an enchantment is going to be drawing you a card, which is quite strong. And in some cases, it might even make sense for us to be playing cards that don't have a huge impact simply because they're a 1-mana enchantment that draws us a card and draws us another card. So that's kind of what I want to explore today. And let's go over the deck real quick. So the core of this deck is, of course, enchantments. Awesome, Gator. Appreciate the heads up there. Thank you. So, and let's start with the ramp, because I actually think that one of the important things about Satyr Enchanter, given that this is it's not a threatening card on its own, it is an engine. But engines become threatening when they begin to overwhelm the ability of your opponents to handle them. So I think it's quite important that we actually ramp rather aggressively in Satyr Enchanter. And of course, we're going to do so with these land auras. Many of these land auras also come with them some sort of benefit that we find useful, whether it's +1/+1 counters, life gain, things of that nature. So we have cards like Utopia Sprawl and Wild Growth, Fertile Ground. These are cheap, they're incredibly efficient, and they're going to move us up the curve. And the great thing about this particular form of ramp is that it basically eliminates bad top decks. You know, late game, classic problem that you'd see with like a 60 card ramp deck with like Arbor Elf and Wild Growth and Utopia Sprawl is that they'll be playing into these big cascade cards, or even if they're not cascading, then they're just kind of ripping off the top without very many draw effects. And what that leads to is, if you have a good draw, you still have like all these draws afterwards that are poisoned in a sense by ramp that you no longer need. All you want is more action, okay? And in Satyr Enchanter, we don't suffer from that problem at all. In Satyr Enchanter, every ramp spell that we play is not only furthering our ability to cast more and more spells, it's also ensuring that we can recast our Satyr Enchanter should it get targeted or hated out of the game. And I really, really like these kinds of strategies. Many of you have seen me play Third Path Iconoclast. For those of you who aren't familiar, it's blue and a red for a human monk, 2/1. Every non-creature spell you cast, you're going to make a 1/1 soldier artifact creature token. And what that means is that we can play ramp in that deck to move us up the curve to take more game actions, and it's not wasted. Every single one of those mana rocks is also going to produce a creature with it. So we're minimizing the number of bad top decks we have, and in a mid-range deck like this, that is so important. So this is the base here. We actually got some new cards here. This is one area where we're going to be making some changes. One, because there's a couple of duplicate effects in here that cause the land to gain the ability to tap for 2 mana, as opposed to giving you more mana when it's tapped. And we want to focus on those sorts of effects. Now, maybe that doesn't matter because we actually don't have Arbor Elf effects in here. And maybe we should have those. I'm totally open to hearing about this. This is not a stream where I actually have like a super clear read on exactly what it is that we need to be doing, or what direction we need to be going. I just have a lot of cards that I think are interesting. So the next thing is protection spells. Obviously, like, our engines are important and our threats are important. Yavimaya Enchantress, Aura Gnarlid, Selsyna Ledgewalker. These, actually, Selsyna Ledgewalker has hexproof, so ignore that. But cards like Aura Gnarlid, the Yavimaya Enchantress, or whatever we put the aura on, we're investing resources in that creature so that it can punch through with a lot of damage. And ideally, we don't want to lose that. Now, the beauty of it is that if we do, we still drew cards off of it. So we're not sunk too badly, but I think that there's a lot of wisdom to playing some protection spells that can help maintain our investment while also potentially interacting with our opponent. So a couple that you'll notice here that do that are Stave Off. Okay, Stave Off can target your opponent's creatures to make it so that they can't be targeted. This works against Freed from the Real. This works against Ghostly Flicker. This works against like a Clout of the Dominus effect that's going to give hexproof to it. It's a really powerful mechanic that's also a cheap way to protect our own things, which is great. Vines of the Vastwood's going to act the same way while also being a pump. I think there's going to be non-insignificant number of times where we just, pump a Solana Ledgewalker or something that has a Benevolent Blessing with the +4/+4 that we get from Vines of Vastwood. We also have Benevolent Blessing and Chomano's Blessing. These two cards also act like Stave Off. It just says target creature. You play it as an instant speed. Say your opponent has a Peregrine Drake, and you just never want them to flicker that thing ever again. They go to flicker it, you instant speed, drop one of these things on it, give it pro blue, and not only are you going to draw a card, but you're also going to stop them from being able to flicker and combo off with their Peregrine Drake. But of course, these are mainly for protection. There's a couple more in here that we're going to be looking at that accomplish that similar thing in a slightly different way. And we might be trying to, like, one thing that I really want to do in this is I do actually want to lean further into enchantments. I want to create as few dead draws in this deck as possible. So it's just maximize the movement and the velocity that we have through our deck. So we may be coming back in through here and looking at cards like, see if we can find it real quick here. Yeah, Ward of Lights, which is basically just going to be a 2-mana Chomano's Blessing that if you play it at instant speed, it's going to sacrifice at the end of turn, but we're going to draw a card off of it, and if we play it at sorcery speed, we get to keep it. So I think that flexibility might be worth it. We have some life gain effects, which I think are important here, particularly the repeatable stuff. So we have Nexus Warden's going to gain life for each enchantment. This gains so much life over the course of the game. Although in some way, there's a part of me that wonders whether just a Soul Sister, the 1/1 for 1 that gains life off of each creature entering battlefield, whether that might just gain more life, but I'm not sure. This one does have reach, and it is a 1/4, so I think there's some added value there. We also have Armadillo Cloak and Lifelink. And one of the things I'm going to be looking to add in here is the Soul Link card. Let's see if we can find it here. This is the newly printed duplicate effect of Lifelink. I think it's called Soul Link, but it is a, let's see, so O gain, O damage, type aura, CMC equals 1 is going to be Spirit Link. And Spirit Link is actually an effect that stacks with Lifelink because it's actually reading you gain life every time you deal damage. It's not a keyword, so it's cheap. It's going to gain us life, and I think in a deck like this, the ability to play a mid-range deck that actually has the ability to play the late game often requires that you have a source of life gain, and this deck has it in droves. So I'm excited to find room for that one as well. We have currently 35 lands. This may go down a little bit just based on this amazing ramp package that we have, especially if we play some Arbor Elf type effects. We have some pump effects here too, often doubling for some form of protection. In removal package, we have some cards that I'm actively looking at cutting, even though they're very good and just staple white cards, because I really want to lean into the theme of enchantments and just drawing a lot of cards. That's going to mean that in a lot of cases, our removal is going to be sorcery speed. And that's, I think, going to be fine. There are other players at the table. We're still going to be deploying plenty of removal, and I want to go up on removal as well. The ability to kill something or turn it off with a pacifism while drawing a card is extraordinarily good. Like, pacifism is oftentimes better than just a plain old terminate because our opponent's not able to get their creature back. They're not able to attack with it or block with it anymore, so we can pound them with our big threats while their commander is essentially locked down. They're very similar to reprobation in effect, except they're not turning off the abilities. So I want to go up on that. And then over here we have some creatures. We have a couple of creatures that make hexproof threats. We have this one right here, which is a 3-mana 2/1, makes a 1/1 creature with hexproof. This one here I might actually end up swapping for just a slippery. Oh, we can't play Slippery Boggle. I just realized. Yeah. We'll have to look and see. We have Heliod's Pilgrim to tutor for our auras. We're probably not going to play the Totem Guide Heartbeast and the Shrine Steward, although I could be swayed based on just how much we ramp and the ability to find basically any effect in the deck. It might just be worth it. Aura Gnarlid, Yavimaya Enchantress, both of these get ridiculously large, and they do so without having to play a single aura on them. All we're going to do is try and put a Benevolent Blessing or a Snake Umbra or a Broken Fall in play, and we're good to go. We have Spirited Companion, which is basically just a 2-mana divination on a body It's great. Transcendent Envoy is unbelievably good. Like reducing the cost of our auras while also being an enchantment that draws a card and a flying threat. It's just like pretty gross. Solana Ledgewalker is going to act like an or an Arlid, except we're going to put things on it, and it's got evasion, which is strong and hexproof. Commander, Cathar Commander may not actually last in the deck. We'll see. I don't know how highly I value the ability to destroy an artifact or enchantment, because the things that we really are concerned about, you know, we can actually tag with other things. The new Realm Breaker's Grasp, Planner Disruption, both of those cards also hit enchant artifacts. So a card like Whisper Silk Cloak or Cranial Plating or a Nurok Stealth Suit, we can turn those off with those effects as well. Even though Cathar Commando is amazing, I don't know if it is going to hang out. So Fang of Shingeki is basically just another Spirited Companion, except that it's really cheap. It's a 1 mana body that we can load up. It blocks well. Benevolent Bodyguard's just more protection, which actually I need to list over here in protection. And then Colony Garden, just making a 0/1 to eat Edict or to load up with auras. So that's the deck. If there's anything I'm missing here. Oh, our draw engines. Yeah, this is like a core part of these Satyr Enchanter decks. So pay close attention here. These effects that allow you to play an aura, draw a card, and then return them back to our hand via some mechanic is extraordinarily powerful. If we're mid-game and maybe we're a little bit low on cards because we've been fighting or arch-enemied or something, Whip Silk is going to be literally like cast it, draw a card, pay 1, put it back to our hand, cast it, draw a card, put it back to our hand over and over and over again until we have as many cards as we need. It also has a relevant effect that it grants it reach in a sense. So we have 4 of those, and there's a couple more as well that we could look into playing too. But this is the most efficient one. Gossamer Chains also is like devastating against certain decks. This enchantment makes an unblocked creature an opponent controls deal no damage, and you can just do this every turn. So if you've got a Sailor's Bane opponent, you know, they're probably going to try and get through this, and then they're going to counter it on the way down, but you're getting a counter spell out of them, which is great. But other decks that don't have counter spells are going to have a really tough time getting rid of this. And it's going to basically end the game for a Voltron player while drawing us a stupid number of cards. This is basically going to be 1 card a turn, actually, now that I think about it. It's essentially Monarch, right? We're going to play this out. Somebody's going to attack us. We're going to make it deal no damage, return it to our hand, and then draw a card. We can also save people with this if we need to. Broken Fall is just repeat protection, which is so strong, but this one doesn't. We can do this multiple times a turn too. Play it, regenerate a creature, bring it back to our hand, play it, regenerate. Yeah. Snake Umbra is basically another Monarch effect, but it's also protection. So now that we've got this out of the way here, which is kind of serving in a sense kind of like a deck tech, let's take a look at some of the cards that we have in the sideboard. So let's we're gonna go into visual stacks. Is this it? No, we want the stacks. No, grid. I think it's grid. Yes, it's grid. Okay. So let's go down to the sideboard here, and I want to share with you all what I've been thinking about this deck. So I want to go up on removal. I want to increase the amount of enchantments in the deck overall. I want to explore cards that like Abundant Growth, which is like Abundant Growth is just Thoughtcast with like the ability to fix our mana. And that's probably just good enough, right? I mean, it just seems really strong. I'm also very interested in the provoke creatures. Cards like Deathblade Elite are so disgusting in this deck because they're basically giving us a repeat source of removal. You know, we can load this up with a ethereal armor, and we can, you know, we can make things block us and kill them. Repeatable removal is so strong in this format where creatures are so important. So yeah. That's kind of what I'm thinking there. There's a couple of other cards you might find in here too, like Flaming Fist, which seems great. We have another, like a tutorable, basically this is like a tutorable O-Ring that's also granting ward to our creature, which I think might be worth it. Armament of Nyx is another one that I just like, I don't know, I just kind of boofed on it and forgot. But this card is nuts. Gives double strike to as long as the creature's an enchantment. And we might not always find a target for this, but when we do, we're getting double strike in white, and that's really powerful. But if it's not, it's just going to prevent all damage done by that creature, which is strong. We can put this on a Dargo. It's going to be very hard for them to reset the Dargo, and it's never going to deal any damage, which is awesome. So not as flexible as something like Bound in Gold or Intercessor's Arrest, which can target any permanent. But the double strike, I think, is just too good. I mean, yeah, we'll just have to see. So yeah, that's kind of what we're looking at. There's a bunch of creatures in here too. There's a couple of multicolored creatures that I was thinking about, because I do want to play this card called Shield of the Oversoul, which is really strong. It's evasion, it's protection, it's not that expensive, and it gives +2/+2. So to really play this card, I kind of would like to have a couple more Selesnya colored creatures so that we get both the benefits out of it. But at the very floor, we put this on Satyr Enchanter. Somebody goes to bolt it, we protect it, Shield of the Oversoul lands, and now we have a Satyr Enchanter that's very durable and can kill people. So yeah, bunch of different stuff here. So let's start with the cards I would like to cut. The list is in the description below if you want to follow along and refresh as we're doing this, and you can see the changes we're making and recommend any of your own. So let's start from the top, straight to the top. So these creatures here, I don't hate these. I think every single one of these is good. I think Cathar Commando is the only one that I'm looking to cut. So we're going to toss that in considering. That's our first cut. We're going to be coming back and looking at these two. I think these are all great. I don't have any issue with them. For evasion here, Fists of Ironwood is kind of an interesting card. This is essentially just like giving trample and 2/1 or 2/1/1s that eat edicts. And I will say that edicts right now from a meta standpoint are not very common. They're not playing a big role in the meta, and that the trample without any power is maybe not excellent. So I'm not sure about Fist of the Ironwood. I do like that it makes threats so we can buff up, but a lot of times it's like you have this card, you're putting it on something, and it's not big enough for the trample to even be useful, and you still can't attack. So late game though, Fist of the Ironwood is like, yeah, make my Aura Gnarlid trampling, or whatever it is, the Yavimaya Enchantress. Angelic Gift is really good. This one's flying, draw cards, so I think that's solid. Rancor, obviously. We don't have Mask of or Shield of Duty and Reason, and it could be wrong that we don't have that. But because blue bounce spells are a way to pretty like heavily demolish what we're doing in a sense, because it's gonna, everything's gonna just fall off. So that's possible, and it's only 1 mana, so the floor on it's pretty high actually. There might even be an argument to say, cut Fist of Ironwood for that, although Fist of Ironwood is essentially a creature. So yeah, I'm not sure. We'll look for other easier cuts. One thing I am going to do in this deck is that I don't care about graveyards. Graveyards are kind of an interesting space right now. There are things happening in the graveyard that are powerful. However, they're not seeing a ton of play. And the things that I play graveyard hate aren't for powerful interactions. It's for game-ending interactions. So I'm going to lean out of these cards pretty heavily. I don't think we're going to play Honored Heirloom, even though it's a great card. It's just like, we can play better stuff here. So we're going to add this to considering. We're also going to cut Relic of Progenitus. I honestly think that those are relics of a time when graveyard combo decks were a bigger deal. And I think they're still a big deal, but I just don't think that's the job of this deck, to be dealing with that. We're just going to replace that stuff with good removal that can be flexible. So I think that there could be an argument for playing 1 less land, but we'll just leave it at 35. Mayhem Devil plays 35, and it's a similar composition of like ramp and threats. So I think 35 is fine. Cards like Quicksand and Desert are interesting. Desert, for those of you who don't know, deals 1 damage to an attacking creature. This is a way to repeatedly kill gut tokens if they don't have Inspiring Leader. However, this is a very pip-heavy deck, and I frequently find that both Quicksand and Desert are pretty painful on the mana base. Quicksand might be a little more justifiable because this could potentially be a crop rotation deck, although it's a good crop rotation deck in the sense that you can get Colony Garden to eat edicts and to get bodies. You can get Opal Palace, you can get Study Hall if we wanted to. We can protect our creatures with Sejuri Step. And then Quicksand is basically a removal spell. So you go quicksand, sack a land, put quicksand into play, and then kill a creature that's attacking. So that's kind of an interesting one. You can do some shenanigans too, where if there's a gut player out and they're attacking somebody else, you can crop rotation this in and then hit the gut with the quicksand, regardless of whether it's attacking you or not. And that's pretty cool. So this is looking fine. I think Desert's the one that's going to come out. Let's just, in the meantime, we're just going to add a plains here for the time being, and then we'll revisit and see if there's anything else we want here. It's possible too that Tranquil Thicket and Secluded Step just don't belong in the deck. Both of these cards they're great lands, but we kind of don't need them. Our commander draws such an absurd number of cards that, like, a tap land, I think I'd just rather it not. So let's just start with that too. We're going to be firing fast and loose here. And again, if you have any thoughts about what you yourself would want to do with this deck, let me know, and we'll consider those in course. For life gain here, we were talking about the Nexus Wardens. You know, one thing we could do is actually cut the Nexus Wardens for Spirit Link. I like that it's a body, though. You know, it's a body that's doing that, but I don't know. Certainly going to be adding to this at the very least. Reclaim. I think this card is probably kind of dead here. Reclaim is a cool card because we can essentially put something on top, cast an enchantment, and we're going to draw it right away. But in mid-range decks, frequently, the cards that we play aren't individually crucial. Reclaim tends to go in combo decks because Reclaim is a flexible way to get any card back. If it's a Freed from the Real, if it's an Archaeomancer, if it's a Snap, if it's, Mystic Sanctuary, Opal Palace, like whatever, it's really good that way. And here it's not bad, but I just, we're playing a deck that is full of premium cards. This is not premium here, so we're gonna cut this one too. Righteous Aura is insane in the Membrane. With this paired with Lifelink, this is a way to turn off people's ability to, like, deal damage to us at the cost of some life and some mana. But particularly, I think where this excels is at, like, completely destroying Voltron decks. It's like another copy of Gossamer Chains, where we're just going to shut it off. No more commander damage. Lapse of Certainty. This is a card that I'm actually going to eat crow on a little bit here. Lapse of Certainty is a card that I almost universally recommend people play in their white decks. And it might be wrong to cut it here. Now, why? This is like a 3-mana counterspell that, like, doesn't even take the card away from them permanently. So, like, why? Why? This is a bad memory lapse, right? It's white. So whenever, like, no person should ever play around this card. Lapse of Certainty is so backbreaking when it works because, generally speaking, the person isn't anticipating it. It's flexible, and the color shifted nature of it is just gross. I just don't know that it's actually what we're trying to do here. So I think this is going to go. Yeah. We have some naturalize effects here. This is one of the reasons why I think we can cut the Cathar Commando, is with Bounding Gold and Oblivion Ring do the same thing. I can turn off a Pestilence with Bounding Gold, and I can tutor for it. So I essentially have, 3 cards in my deck, or 4 cards in my deck that can tag a Pestilence. But the fact that you can enchant any permanent's great. I'm actually tempted to add Intercessor's Arrest, which is the same card, to this as well. But we'll come back to that. Okay, so now we're into this selection here. It's possible that Crop Rotation is just another card that, like, good green card, has uses in the deck, but I don't know. It's actually kind of middling. All right, let's do some fast and loose stuff here. We're going to do it again. We're going to go up basics. Yeah, look at how many untapped lands here. I am going to want to add probably 1 tap land. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 tap lands, current 5 with Sejuri Step. Sejuri Step is a very good spell. It only hits creatures you control. When you draw it on its own, it feels pretty bad. So it kind of acts as maybe evasion or something. But so Crop Rotation, Maybe, okay, here. We're going to leave crop rotation. We're actually going to go back. We're going to add that quicksand back. I know I'm backtracking on this because we're just firing from the hip, but we'll leave quicksand for the time being. I think the price of having one colorless producing land is just fine. It's okay. Not a big deal. Okay, we're into protection here. Blacksmith skill is hexproof and indestructible. I kind of, at first I was like, why is this card in the deck? But the reason is that it's essentially protection, but it is not going to strip any auras off of our creatures. Like protection will do that if somebody tries to hit us with an O-ring and we have to like pro white and then like remove our stuff from it. But you know, this could be an enchantment. This could be Ward of Lights. So there is that. Tamiyo's safekeeping is also the same way. They're very cheap. They're very effective. This also hits permanence. So this can block somebody from bouncing a land that has auras on it. Although I will say that like we're not going to stack our auras very often. I don't think there's a lot of value to that unless we add the untappers. So we're not going to open ourselves up to like Cleansing Wildfire, Boomerang, Wrecking Ball, that kind of shit. We're just not going to do it. Apostle's Blessing is great. I like this card a lot. It protects against artifacts, and frankly, Aether Spellbomb is like a very universally playable blue card that you should expect to see. And it's one of the few ways to stop. You know, it's like Tamiyo's safekeeping, Blacksmith skill will do it too. Apostle's Blessing, the new Angelic Intervention will do it too. So yeah, so it's maybe looking at. In fact, actually, Blacksmith skills and Tamiyo's safekeeping go up in value for the ability to just grant hexproof instead of protection from a color. Interesting. So maybe this is fine. Maybe this section is right where it needs to be. Snakeskin Veil also does it too. I know I want to add Ward of Lights. This is starting to get to be a lot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 of these are auras. And maybe this is a section where we just need to budge a little bit because these are just good spells that we need to play, and we don't compromise on good spells in this case just for more cards. Maybe that's the way we think about it. And in a sense, when we're just drawing more cards because we have more enchantments, actually keeping that engine in play is what's important. So we can continue to draw cards. All this stuff is like staple. Squire's Devotion, there's a possibility this wants to be, you know, the Spirit Link, but I think it's actually an and thing because Squire's Devotion is actually secretly a creature. It also gives a 1/1 vampire with lifelink. So this is actually giving you 2 sources of lifelink, and that's pretty sweet. It's Edict Fodder. It's got a buff. It's not too bad on price. All right, this is where we're going to get into some stuff we can cut. Both of these are great. Fertile Ground, Find the Path. This one here ventures into the dungeon, and it only allows you to make green. I'm feeling like this is like a no. I feel like this is on the chopping block. We're going to cut that. Glittering Frost is sweet. We've got Grafted Growth is amazing, putting a counter on something we have and then making it tap for 2. Nature's Embrace is like a pump spell that also enchants a permanent to add mana, so we can actually use this on a creature as well if we wanted to. I'm not sure where we would, but you could. New Horizons, great card. Overgrowth, Sheltered Eerie. Dawn's Reflection is an additional 2 mana, and so is Market Festival, so I like these quite a lot. But we're going to add to this a little bit, and we're going to add to removal as well. So I think most of this looks good. One thing we might do is we may consider focusing, if we do end up adding like an Arbor Elf or, you know, some of these like Satyr, Voyager type effects where we can untap lands, which would allow us to increase our threat density while also having more Edict Fodder and allowing us to actually potentially... They're kind of the same thing, actually, right? If you play a Satyr Enchant if you play an Arbor Elf, it's kind of the same thing as a Utopia Sprawl, right? Where we're just making 1 more mana, right? It means we're a little more vulnerable to sweepers. So maybe there's a balance of these ramp effects that we want that also allows us to increase our threat density. That's something we're going to look at. We have 6 slots that we've opened up, which is great. this stuff here all looks pretty good. We have the classics, Reprobation, Lignify. Two cards that might seem strange to cut, Afterlife and Crib Swap. Crib Swap in particular is a very strong card. Instant speed, 3 mana, unconditional, kill your creature, and give them a colorless shapeshifter creature with Changeling. I think that I would prefer that these be auras. This is one place where we can get a lot of ground in adding cards like Realmbreaker's Grasp and Planner Disruption. So we're gonna cut these, and we're just basically gonna say that instant speed interaction outside of our protection suite is gonna be the job of other people. We're gonna deal with things on our turn, and that's okay. We also have Ram Through and Master's Rebuke. Ram Through is like a whole nother level, because if we have Trample, we're gonna kill somebody. You know, this is Soul's Fire on a removal spell plus kill a player. So I think we just kind of need to play that. But a card like Master's Rebuke also could be, you know, Master's Rebuke and these like bite effects, like Bite Down, Master's Rebuke. We just got another one called Cosmic Hunger. These effects are really good if our creatures have protection or if they have hexproof. We have a number of those, so I'm not really sure. Yeah, not really sure. Again, I keep coming back to crop rotation. This might just be like superfluous, but anyways. So, chat, let me know. What do you think of Abundant Growth? Is this a card that we want to be playing here? It seems to me that the ability to fix our mana is quite good. We're actually very pip intensive in this deck. If you've ever played it, you'll find that it's like, you're almost like Crackling Drake, where you're just like, you really need all the pips to be flexible. And this allows us to fix. It's also just 1 mana, and it's drawing us a card. Or it's actually drawing 2 cards. This is Thoughtcast. There's a part of me that thinks that 1 mana draw 2 is just like too good to not play. I know that I want Deathblade Elite, so we're going to add this to the main deck. This is going to go into creatures, and it's also going to go into our removal. I love cards that do 2 things at the same time. That's like something you'll notice on my streams. I like really highly value modality. Spirit Link is going to go in the deck. Again, this is just another cheap cantrip, basically, that's also like devastatingly good at keeping us alive. There's cards like Urban Burgeoning, which I'm kind of interested in. I don't know how many cards we have that have like instant speed. I like the idea that this allows us to like hold some mana up during people's turns. It's very cheap. Unbridled Growth is basically the same thing as Abundant Growth, except that we don't draw the card right away off of, we can sack it to draw a card. Now, like Abundant Growth, in all honesty, like this probably, you know, this fixing our mana thing probably isn't going to be hyper relevant all the time. So basically these are, Unbridled Growth just doesn't stay in play if we want to draw the card, but it is an onboard way to draw another card. So, you know, 2 mana, like 1 mana draw 2 is so strong. If we ever need to draw a card, we can sack it. So I kind of like both of these. They just seem strong that way. We also have cards like Nyxborn Shieldmate, which are going to look really silly at first, except the fact that they're basically like Spirited Companion's really good, right? Because you're 2 mana draw 2. But this is also like 1 mana draw 1 on a better body that can also be an aura. So, yeah, that can also be an aura. Exactly. Yep. So yeah, chat's a little quiet right now. If you want to let me know what you're thinking, what makes sense to you. I'm hoping for some engagement on your guys' part to help craft this, because I don't have all the answers, and I'd love to hear what you all think. So let's get Ward of Lights in there. I know that that's a card I want. Ward of Lights, Aura. If you cast it at instant speed, you are going to sack it, but this is going to draw us a card and protect something. If we play at sorcery speed, we're good to go. So I like this one a lot. This is going to go under protection. There's also Nylea's Presence. This is kind of like a 2 mana. This is a 2 mana Abundant Growth, which, you know, that's still good. Like 2 mana draw 2 is really good, but I'm not sure. Blighted Burgeoning is a card we're going to play. This is 3 mana. It's whenever you tap for mana, you're going to add an additional mana. That we like that effect, and it makes a creature. I love Blighted Burgeoning. This is such an important card in the format right now for cards like Gretchen and decks like Gretchen to have just a blocker. They've got tons of mana. They can pay the 2, flip it into a 2/2, and then just block and eat some damage. That's going to go in the main deck. This is going to go into ramp. Where is ramp? We got to go up, 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 up. Come on, come on. There we go. Ramp. I wonder why it wasn't showing on that sideboard. I know that I want Shield of the Oversoul as well. So we're going to put this in the main deck. This is going to go under Protection. It's also going to go under Pump. And we might actually get rid of this category, but it's kind of tough because like Ethereal Armor, Ancestral Mask, these are like big effects, so we play to do damage. So this is going to go under Pump, and it's also going to go under Evasion because it is flying. Okay, those are 2 good ones there. We have 3 slots left. Let's just take a look and make sure we got enough lands here. It's funny that they don't list... 35. There we go. Yep, 35 lands, so we're good. Armament of Nyx was a card we were talking about. I just think this needs to play. How many enchantments do we have here? We're going to go 41. We have a dog, a griffin, a ninja, a snake, and a tree folk. So 5 enchantment creatures. 5 enchantment creatures might not be enough to make this a double strike effect. Douglas Wilson says, I've been so excited for this build. Well, Douglas, I'm really glad to have you in the chat, and thanks for piping up. And yeah, I hope you enjoy it and learn something. I'm very bullish on this commander. I'm very confident that if you take this to a tournament, that you're going to have you're at least not you're setting yourself up for success, but you're also not setting yourself up for failure. So it's like a little bit of both. And I truly do think this is like, this deck actually draws more cards than Simic. So, I mean, take that as you will. Before we put Armament of Nyx in, we're going to put Flaming Fist. I think that this allows, even if Satyr doesn't have anything on it, this is going to allow our commander to attack, even with maybe a small buff, you know, like 2 power or something. This is going to be really good, and it's just going to draw us a card. So let's do that. We're going to put this in here for Pump. We have cards like Temporal Isolation, which I'm quite interested in, mainly because it's a 2-mana flash that basically turns off Voltron, but we already have a lot of ways to do that. So I think we're going to be focusing more on a slightly different kind of an effect. So where are the cards that I was looking for? We don't have Planar Disruption. We're going to get that one in, and we're going to get in Realm Breakers, Realmy B. These cards are both so good. For those of you who don't know, they hit artifacts and creatures. They turn off activated abilities. They can't attack or block. WotC said they weren't going to print Pacifism Plus, and then they just like did a lot of times. And I'm totally down with it. I have no issue with that. So these are both going to go under removal. This is already, if you look down here at the bottom, we've increased from 37 or 38 enchantments to 44. If we could get it to a point where we were like 50 enchantments, that would mean that half of our top decks are going to draw us another card. It's really sick. It's really sick. So we're at 100 cards. Like, ultimately, I don't know whether I actually care about crop rotation. I don't know that it actually gives me enough stuff that I care. We draw so many cards in this deck that like tutors, or unless they're cheap, are like kind of ridiculous. Like Heliod's Pilgrim is like actually a worse rate than Spirited Companion, but it can find basically anything we need in the deck. So it's really good. Crop rotation doesn't interact on that axis. We're not getting Bajuka Bog. We're not getting Witch's Cottage. We're not getting Mortuary Mire. We're not getting Haunted. We could play Haunted Fengraf. We could. Haunted Fengraf might actually be worth it. Our creatures are, let's see how high quality they are. How many of these are we happy to get back for the cost of 4 mana and losing a land? Not happy to get Fang. Very happy to get Selsyna. Don't care about Spirited Companion. Transcendent Envoy is cool, but it's basically Spirited Companion. That's like going to have some benefit. Aura Gnarlid, Deathblade Elite, Selsyna Ledgewalker, Yavimaya Enchantress. That's 4 creatures we care about. I don't think it's going to make the cut. All right, I'm going to do it. We're going to cut crop rotation. And we're going to go up to our lands, and we might leave quicksand just because of the tech to kill attacking creatures. Yeah, the rest of this seems fine. I don't know that we need to make any changes here. This is okay still without crop rotation. Okay, crop rotation is out. There's a whole bunch of other stuff here too. There's Blessed Hippogriff, which was recommended to me by... Can't remember who recommended this to me. Sorry if I'm forgetting who recommended this, but basically this is a 1 mana protection spell followed by a 4 mana 2/3 flying that's going to give flying to one of our creatures every time it attacks, and that's pretty sick. It's a lot of value in one card, and it's a threat. It's protection. It's not a very good kind of protection. Oh, I'm forgetting Ephemeral Shields too. God, that card is so good. Yeah, we're going to be really tight on slots. How much removal? We have 10. I want this number to go up. Fists of Ironwood is kind of looking silly to me. It's actually looking really silly. Like, protection is often going to act as a form of unblockability. Big Dirty says, this is the kind of deck that might run Basilisk Gate. Let's do a quick check. Great question. 6 gates. I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. And there's not enough gates here. Heap Gate doesn't even really have any like usefulness in the deck. It's another colorless land. These Gateway Plaza type effects are weird. They play in 3-color decks, or 5-color decks, but not that great in 2. It just feels like a drag on our mana base for something that's probably going to be +1/+1, maybe +2/+2 in the course of a game. So I think the answer is no to that, but that's a great question, Big Dirty, and I'm glad we took a look at it. I think Fists of Ironwood is coming out. I don't have confidence that card is worth. Fang of Shingeki is also kind of looking that way too. It's like a body. Like, Death Touch doesn't matter that much because we make our creatures big, you know? So it's like, yeah, it's a 1 mana cantrip, but with a body and Death Touch, but I think this can go and we can find a better creature. Like, another Provoke creature would be sweet, right? Or more removal. Big Dirty says, good deal. I think I was running it in my initial build. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, and I think you can cut it, especially if you're not running crop rotation. And I just think in general, it's not gonna do enough. That card is really good in 60 card because all of your cards are gates. Not all of your lands, but a lot of them are, like a significant proportion. And in this format, Basilisk Gate has like kind of 2 homes, Mr. Orfeo and Sphinx of the Guild Pact, where you have 5 colors, so you can play a lot of them. You could also play it in maybe like Quasar if you wanted like a second copy of Cranial Plating, but you have no way to tutor for it. So anyways, what do you all think about these enchantments that go on lands? Curious to hear. They've got keywords, which is cool because basically if you play an enchantment that is turning something into a creature, which is going to draw you a card, and then it's like above curve. So in this case, it's a 4 mana 4/5 with Vigilance and Haste. We're getting a lot of like keyword value out of that at no risk to our land because it's going to gain. Somebody could boomerang the land. Douglas says, have you checked the sagas Tale of Master Sashiro and Era of Enlightenment? Yes, I have those in my list here, and we can talk about those. Or actually, looks like I don't. So let's go type saga, and we'll add these to our sideboard just so we can see them there. I have considered these, and we'll talk a little bit about them. I think that there's let's see. Okay, there. So start with Era of Enlightenment. 2 mana. We're gonna draw, and then we're gonna scry 2. So we're getting kind of like a Serum Visions, and then we're gonna gain 2 life. Not that consequential. And then it's gonna flip into a 2/2 with First Strike. I don't think this plays. First Strike is cool, but 2 life doesn't matter to me really. Scry 2 doesn't really matter to me that much. And it's very slow. You have to remember, these cards are exceptionally slow because of the way they work, because of the way they are. So we're going to remove this one. Go to the Befriend the Moths. This one is a different story. +1/+1 flying twice is no joke. Okay, like Aura Gnarlid with this is going to tear somebody's face off. Like this plus Aura Gnarlid is probably going to be lethal in a lot of cases. It flips into a 2/4 flying, which I really like. This one's probably pretty close to playable. I like that it's both a threat, it's evasion, it's drawing you a card. Definitely like high potential there. And then the final one is Tales of Master Sashiro. This one is really similar. Let's get this one full screen because I'm having a hard time seeing it. +1/+1 counters twice and vigilance, which actually is kind of, it's better than the moths. And the creature it turns into is really strong. Vigilance, haste, 5/5. Woo! Sheesh! Interestingly enough, I wonder though whether a 2/4 flying is better. The fact that it has haste is sick. It's really sick. But evasion is so strong in a deck like this where you can load things up with auras. Although we also don't have a huge number of auras that pump. We have some. I think these cards are also identity green and white, aren't? No, they're just green. Yeah, okay. So we can't do anything there. The vigilance is pretty cool. Giving vigilance to our creatures every turn is awesome, especially with lifelink. We have a lot of lifelink, and vigilance is going to be like, it's going to translate to so much life gain because we're going to hit somebody, gain all that life, and then somebody can't, and then they can't hit us back, which means that we kind of gained twice as much life, right? Because we didn't lose it. We can treat sometimes not losing something or an abatement as a gain. They're kind of similar. Trouble is, this thing is 5 mana. It's 5. 5 mana, draw a card, +1/+. So let's talk about it. Okay, 5 mana, +2/+2, and vigilance. Draw a card. Suspend. What? Suspend. Play it the first time. Second. Third comes out. So it's suspend 3. Would you play a 5 mana suspend 3 that on suspension gives +1/+1 and vigilance twice and then makes a hasty 5/5? I don't know that it's good enough. It's cool. I think what my intuition is telling me is that these Befriend the Moth, Tales of these sagas, this is like the casual build of the deck. They're good cards, but I think we just have better, you know? Douglas Wilson says, I also thought you got the draw on entering, which would give you a trigger on the saga flips, but it's on cast. That knocks how good I thought. Exactly. Yeah, I didn't clarify that before just because it's on the card, but that's a really important point that you're making, Douglas. And if they drew a card when they flipped, this would be no-brainer. We would 100% play these cards, but I think that's why we're not gonna. So let's take these ones and we're just gonna move them out. We still have 3 slots. We have Serpent Skin, which is a flash protection, also a pump. I like flash a lot. I wish we had more flash in the deck. Big Dirty says it's only is this going to get cast on turn 3 with the amount of green ramp? It could be. Yeah, it could be. And we have a lot of ramp, and so it's not a problem to play lots, but we have to remember that like when we play more expensive spells in this deck, it's we're essentially like limiting the number of cards we can draw in a turn, because we could also just play 2 cards instead of 1, or 3 cards instead of 1 if we focus on some efficiency. And in that case, like the effect that you're getting is less important than the fact that you're just like running through your deck and those cards still are useful. So Lotus Eye Mystics is another one that I'm kind of interested in. This one is going to get enchantment back from our graveyard to our hand. So this is a 4 mana Auramancer that has Prowess, which I actually think is pretty sweet. Prowess is good in this deck. You know, Prowess is like, how many of our cards? Prowess is 52, triggers off of 52 of our cards, and it's probably going to be 55 by the end of the 3 cards that we add. So it's like over half of our cards are going to trigger Prowess, which is kind of cool. I quite like that. It's providing ETB value. It's kind of saying draw a card. Now, something you'll hear Noyark talk about quite a bit. He's a mod on the Common Connoisseurs, also our longest running patron. He talks about recovering spells from your graveyard as being in some ways much better than draw, or in some ways like it's equivalent at the very least. And the reason being is if something died, it was worth killing. That's not always the case. Sometimes we chump block, right? And then that thing, we threw it under the bus because we don't care about it. But if you have a Vicious Battle Rager, if you have an Underdark Explorer, you have a Gary, you know, it was worth killing. You know, maybe the Gary isn't worth killing, but if it's going to the graveyard, oftentimes it's because it was worth killing. And Lotus Eye Mystics is kind of saying we can get an enchantment back. Now, how many enchantments are we going to have in the graveyard? I don't know that we will have that many, so maybe that's kind of where this falls apart. Because I just really don't like cards that I can't just play. And I think that's kind of what we have here. Angie Snyder, welcome to the chat. That's such an expensive protection, though. 3 mana plus a green. Are we talking about Serpent Skin then? Yeah, Serpent Skin is expensive. Yeah, it's 4 mana. It's really expensive. I think if we're adding another card like that, it's probably Blessed Hippogriff, because Blessed Hippogriff is giving us repeat evasion as well as protection, and it's cheap. Like, Blessed Hippogriff could have easily been like 2 mana, target creature gets indestructible and hexproof, and then the 4 mana 2/3, and it still would be playable if you just added hexproof on there. As it stands, indestructible still fine. So, okay, we have Captured by Lagax is another one. This is basically a pacifism that's going to pump something up, which I think is really good. I really like the idea of making Satyr into a 4/4 with this and drawing a card. So I think this is actually going to go into the main deck. It's doubling up on our things. Howl the Hunt's kind of cool. This is a pump spell that's also going to untap if it's a werewolf or a wolf. But its main thing is that it's vigilance, and that's pretty sick. So I like that as well. We also have the Triclopian Sight, which is a flash as well. It's going to be +1/+1 and vigilance, and it's going to untap the creature. I think we would actually play Triclopian Sight over Howl of the Hunt, because 1 more mana is 33% mana cost increase. Let me think about that. No, we would just focus on efficiency. We would want this one instead. Austin Raisbeck, welcome to the chat. Glad to have you here. Yo, just joining in. I think with Captured by Lagax, the counters have to be on separate creatures, or did I read it wrong? You know what? I don't know. Let's see. Put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2-card creatures. So we can spread them, or we can put them all in one, which is actually even better than I thought. Yeah. Captured by Lagax, good. Angie says, I was thinking the same thing with not having many enchantments in the graveyard. How many enchantments are we happy to get back? You know, a lot of our enchantments are very good. We have a lot of good ones. But I think that, like, this is a common pattern in mid-range decks, is that you basically, you value individual cards less than you value just, like, having more cards in hand, right? And like cards that do lots of things. So like Realmbreaker's Grasp is like Oblivion Ring, is like Planner Disruption, is like Journey to Nowhere. You know what I mean? Like they all kind of do a similar thing. So we have a lot of redundancy, and we might be better off just being like, let's draw cards until we find another removal spell. Yeah. And I think the same goes for Raffello's Gift. This is a really powerful draw spell, but I think, I just don't know. Like, I just don't know how many cards we're going to have in our graveyard. So now Steward of Valoron is a really cool creature. It's like a mana dork with like keywords on it. It can like attack and make mana. This is like pretty sick. It works with Shield of the Oversoul because it's Selsyna. And it's a ramp. So for these last slots, chat, what I'd really love to hear from you is what you think we should be prioritizing. Because we have a lot of good options. I was looking at Hidden Spider. I think this is actually kind of like Tarmogoyf, right? Like 1 mana Tarmogoyf. The only thing is that they have to cast a creature with flying. So if they don't have a creature with flying, or there just aren't any of those in the game, then this is never a creature, and it's just a 1 mana cantrip. But dude, 1 mana 3/5 reach for one that drew a card is like kind of stupid. We still haven't added Abundant Growth. I think Abundant Growth probably does belong. I don't think Rafello's Gift is going to make it in. I don't think this Regal Caryatid, even though it's very easy to turn on, I think that this card is just a 1 mana 2/2. Not good enough. Maybe there's a build of this deck where you just really focus on like playing all these 1 mana cards, but I just don't know if that's really what I want to do. So let's cut the Lotus Eye Mystics. I think we had a good conversation about that. And frankly, like Auramancer kind of falls in that same category. I could be wrong here. I could be wrong. KA. Douglas says KA, Karametra's Blessing, I think. Okay. Yeah, so this is basically going to give +2/+2 hexproof and indestructible if it is an enchanted creature or an enchantment creature, which is basically going to be every time. Although, if we're trying to protect Satyr Enchanter and we don't have anything on Satyr Enchanter, this is not a protection spell, which is kind of a bummer. Because Satyr Enchanter, while it's not enchanted, is a card people are going to try and kill. So we can never go wrong with more ramp or more removal, really. I was kind of thinking about Guardian Naga as another one. This one doesn't do anything synergistic with us. It's just a disenchant that also is on a body that basically doesn't die. Like 5/6 Vigilance. Doesn't take damage that would be dealt to it during your turn, but it's also a 5/6. It's a titanically large card, but it's 7 mana. Like, what am I joking here? Like, Blessed Hippogriff is a way better creature than that. This is kind of like being an enchantment because there's 2 spells. It's 2 cards, right? I kind of like this one. Chains of Custody could go in. Exile target non-land permanent. Give Ward 2. And I kind of like Ward 2 here, maybe, because it's like a bridge. It's like a bridge into a protection spell. And Ward 2 isn't like protection, where if you have Rakdos and an Izzet opponent, and you go to put Shield of the Oversoul on your commander, they are all going to realize that this is their opportunity to kill this thing, or one opportunity to kill it. This is what Sorcery Speed Protection has, this problem of essentially inviting everybody to take their one and only opportunity to kill the thing before they can't anymore. And most people will do it, even if it means that they use their premium interaction on something that isn't going to kill them right away. So I don't know if that's a good game theory standpoint. It's one of the things I don't like about cards like Mask of Law and Grace and stuff. But we still draw a card because it's uncast. Austin says, captured by Lagak. To clarify, I think that if Satyr Enchanter is your only creature on the battlefield, I believe you only get to put 1 counter on it, not 2, due to the wording of support. Oh, okay. Let's see. Oh, I see. Yeah. So this is always going to be 2+1/+1 counters distributed, or 1 or 0. Okay. So a little less good. A little less good. Douglas said, I would put chains in for added protection. Then Austin says, so you can only make it a 3/3, not a 4/4. 3/3 is still decent because we're going to get out of Fiery Cannonade range, which is nice. Angie says, how many instant speed things do we have to pair up with Urban Burgeoning? Aren't we focusing on playing on our turn? Yeah, that's a really good point, Angie. Very astute observation that we're a little different than Gretchen, right? Which is a commonly played deck that plays Urban Burgeoning, or even Gnarlback Rhino, which is the 4 mana 4/4 with heroic draw card. And trample, I believe, where that deck plays at instant speed like the whole time, right? And Gretchen wants the instant speed for the activations. So yeah, Urban Burgeoning is going to be out. I think that you're totally right on that. Let's just cut that so that we don't get distracted by it anymore. I think Hidden Spider is so cool, but look, flying creatures are everywhere right now. But like, if this isn't a creature, it's 1 mana draw a card. It's like cycling. I don't know, chat. What do you think about Hidden Spider? We're going to move on. I'm going to move on from this one, but tell me what you think in the chat about this one. We also have this Gargoyle, which is it's just a 2 mana 2/2 that draws a card that has flying, which is above rate, but like, yeah, it's going to go. It's gots to go. It's gots to go. Austin says Hidden Spider is good. There's always flyers. Yeah. I mean, in this deck, the floor on cards like this is that you just cantrip, which is just so good still, right? Like, that's the nuts thing. And Hidden Spider is like, one of the best ones you can play. Aren't there other ones like this? So, cast creature type enchantment. Let's see what this brings up. I think I might have missed one. 3/3 for 3/3 first strike. Predatory Hunger is really good. Yeah, Douglas. I think that's fair. This might be a meta call, and I think it's a slot that you can't be criticized for choosing to play as Hidden Spider. 3/5 is just like, man, this card, like, if you're up against somebody who has like a lot of flyers, like, if you play this on 1 against Passageway Seer, you have so completely fucked their world. Like, they're just done. They're just going to roll over and play dead because they'll never be able to kill that thing unless they try to like kill it. And by that time, you'll just like protect it. Austin says there's others at 2 mana. Angie says I don't like Hidden Spider. Yeah, I think I'm on the fence. Predatory Hunger, though, has got me a bit moist. This card is really sick. Like, imagine, let's see, how would we do this? Maybe like turn 1. Let's say we do turn 1 Wild Growth, turn 2 Selsyna Ledgewalker, turn 3 Predatory. Let's see, no, turn 2 Selsyna Ledgewalker Predatory Hunger. Selsyna Ledgewalker is going to get absolutely yoked. Predatory Hunger is nuts on a hexproof thing, right? Because this format is all creatures, dude. It's all creatures. It's like limited. You play all these creatures, and this is like actually not in my sideboard right now, and I actually think this is probably a mistake. Like, it should be, right? Like, we should be playing this card. There's some funny shit you can do with this too. If somebody goes for the Infinite Flicker combo, you can allow them to flicker it. Oh, no. It's whenever they cast. Yeah. It's a cast trigger. That's pretty cool. Okay, cool. So I think we got all of them. I feel like there's this one that was like Gorillas, right? Like Gorillas in the Mist or something, or I can't remember. Anyways, there's one of these. I think maybe it's an uncommon. There's a couple of these that are uncommon that would be sweet if we had in this format. Okay. So the next ones, we've got Chains of Custody, which I heard some people liked that, and I do too. We don't have Armament of Nixon because we actually don't have that many enchantment creatures. In fact, now we're down to 4. So, damn. I wish this said enchanted creature. Ugh. Dang. It's possible this thing is worth bending around, but I don't know, maybe not. So Chains of Custody, Blessed Hippogriff, both of these are great. Steward of Valoron would be great too. We actually haven't talked about Sunblade Samurai yet. This is kind of a cool card because you can, you know, it's going to be a 5 mana 4/4 vigilance. It draws a card, so it's basically like, you know, it's Owlbear. It's Owlbear, but it also has the ability to channel to find a basic plains card. You gain some life. The life gains, it's like, sure. But it's like these cards that allow us to get lands early and stuff are really cool. In fact, actually, let's go and look. Oh, I have to say, chat, I have got like the freshest liquid drum and bass going on right now. I gotta post this for you here. Yeah, you know, sometimes the music just hits something special, and you gotta just share the beat. So there you go. It's time stamped to exactly where I'm at right now. So if you all are interested in that. Okay, cycling. Oh, we also have Alabaster Host Intercessor. I hadn't thought about this one. This is a card that I've been talking about a lot lately. This card is really nuts because not only is it flickerable, but when you target somebody's commander, in a lot of cases, it's flat out wrong to leave your creature underneath this. The fact that it's 4 toughness means it doesn't die to bolts. So like if you think about like the game theory here, your opponent sees you cast this, they don't have any way to stop it. They can leave their commander underneath this Alabaster Host Intercessor and hope that they can kill it, or they can send it to the command zone. In one of these cases, they will get their commander back, which is that they send it to the command zone. And the other, if their removal spell doesn't work, big scary. You just don't get it back until your next removal spell. That's very dangerous. It also finds plains early on. So what this means is that this card reads 6 mana, 3/4, unconditionally kill your opponent's commander. And then if you flicker it, you can start killing commanders over and over and over again. It becomes a machine gun. Now in this deck, it's not an enchantment. It's just a body. It's just a removal spell. But this is like Journey to Nowhere. You know, it's just Journey to Nowhere. And it has plane cycling. I evaluate these cards that have plane cycling and land cycling in general very highly because they're always going to do something for you. If you just have a 2-land hand with this in hand, like you're going to get your 3rd land. You're going to be fine. So, I don't know. Interesting card. It's like generically good white stuff. So, there's that. Cycling in this deck isn't as important because we have such an enormous source of card draw. It's just like kind of not hugely important. But this might be a little lost in the sauce now that I think about it. I guess the reason I'm looking at it is because there's a some of the new cards they printed also like have backup on them, and I was thinking about backup basically, but there's no backup on Timberland Ancient, even though this tree and is a absolute chad, just like tanking this enormous blow from the Realm Breaker. Douglas says, I'm torn with the plane cycling. I'm not in love with it either. So here's the thing. I have a sneaking suspicion that most decks should be playing these land cycling cards, the new ones in particular. They're very good, the new ones in particular. And the reason is that they're just always useful. And they're big threats. Like, especially Gloomfang Mauler. That thing is a really scary card. It's so good that I'm actually going to be putting it as the only card above 5 mana in Passageway Seer, because you can find a swamp with it, or when you play it, you're going to give Menace and +2/+2, like 2+1/+1 counters to something. So it has haste, you know. Maybe it's just Gloomfang Mauler and Alabaster Host Intercessor that just seems so disgustingly good. But I don't know. I have a hard time evaluating it, and I'm a bit too much of a coward to like play it in my decks and test it out. So there we go. Anyways, yeah, we're a little lost in the sauce here. We're gonna get back to the program here. Won't deviate too much. So we were talking about Chains of Custody was one that we were excited about. So let's just bring in. So Predatory Hunger is going to be Pump. I think that one's going to be very good. Chains of Custody is going to be Removal. Again, this is modal. It's quite nice. Oh, we need to go Chains of Custody. Oh, here's a cool process thing I've just learned. is that if you want to, when you add a card into your deck and it has no tags, say we add like Howl of the Hunt, it goes into untagged. But if you're like me and you need to tag things in multiple categories because it has multiple functions, which is something I think about a lot, then when you go over here and you tag the first thing, then it disappears, right? Like it's going to go somewhere else, right? So the best way to do this is you go take that card, tag it first, and then move it to the main deck. Angie says, I really like Crewfix's insight since we're going mid-range. Yeah, Crewfix's insight is like... this is this draw 3? We could do a Hyper Geo on this. Yeah, let's do that. I don't know if you all have used one before, but this is called a hypergeometric distribution calculator, and we're going to use the one from AetherHub is the best one to use, I think, if I've got this right. This is a Magic specialized mathematics tool, and basically what it's going to allow us to do is figure out some probabilities. So we're going to go population size is going to be 99, and our sample size, so the earliest we could cast this, actually, you know what? We don't probably cast Crewfix's Insight early at all. Dig 6, find 3. All 3 of those cards are going to draw more cards. It's like kind of ludicrous, right? Like, is that dumb, or am I off kilter here? Gotta get some water. Hydrate. I gotta get one of those little buttons where you all can tell me to drink water and like do pull-ups and shit, because gotta stay healthy, you know. Get the blood flowing. Austin says Passageway Seer update soon. Well, Austin, my friend, there's not much to update. Deck is just good. It's gotten some recent stuff. We'll take a quick peek here for you, just because you're curious and we got the time. So let's go here. So Passageway Seer, let's see what changes I made just recently. We'll go view history. Okay, so you can see I added some stuff to considering here. Gloomfang Mauler being the first one. I will say that this deck never has trouble finding lands because we play enough, and Passageway Seer finds us our 5th land drop. Gulping Scrap Trap is one that I'm looking at. Basically, anytime you have access to Initiative, you also want to be looking at Proliferate. And the reason for that is that Initiative has 2 stages in it where you put counters on things. Also, in these Initiative decks, you're kind of aggressive, so that means Evolve creatures are good. We also have Backup now. There's a lot of like ways, there's these weird ways where Proliferate actually is like really good in these Initiative decks. This is, however, a 5 mana 4/4. It's like predicated on getting the second bit of value by it dying. And this deck is like all about mana value. I don't want 5 mana cards in this deck unless it's Gary. Like Gary is 5 mana and worth it because it's going to kill people. It's going to end the game. So I don't think this goes. Whispers of the Dross, though, you can see I'm basically looking at like Grim Affliction, Whispers of the Dross, Proliferate effects. And I think they're pretty good. Like Grim Affliction is going to be -2/-2. So it's going to be kind of like a 3 mana Deadweight like a 3 mana Echoing Truth, I guess. That's going to make our stuff bigger. And I like the idea that we get like, you know, this is not really a removal spell though, which is the thing I don't like. And then Blightbelly Rat's the other one. The Toxic literally doesn't matter. The Proliferate is kind of it. So I don't know. Of all these Gloomfang Maulers, probably the most likely. The one thing that this deck needs that I don't have is Dark Ritual. You should be playing Dark Ritual in this deck. And I have not had it in the deck. Turn 2 Passageway Seer is so gross. It's actually so gross. Having Initiative like that early is like what got it banned in formats. Okay. Turn 1 in Initiative, you know, for Legacy was the thing that people were doing too. So anyways, that's the main thing, getting a Dark Ritual in there. I'm not sure exactly where we find space for that. There is a lot of redundancy. Is this in the main? Are we in the main deck here? Yeah, we are. So let's get these ordered again. We got draw. Okay, so 35 lands. It's going to go up a land, basically. 34 would be perfectly appropriate, but it's something we really like to curve out in this deck because, like, if we don't, we can always just play Passageways here. I was also looking at Bladed Battle Fan as another card that I was kind of interested in because it's kind of like half of a Bone Splitter that's really cheap to equip that also grants Indestructible. We don't really care about protecting our stuff in this deck that much, but this is one way we could. Angie says it's a late game draw 3 that hits more as you play the draws. Exactly. So you're talking about Krufix's Insight. Yeah. So anyways, Dark Ritual needs to... Oh. Joke's on me. It's already in the deck. Yeah, so if you all are interested in this deck, I do highly recommend playing it. I'm not just like tooting my own horn here. This deck is genuinely very good from a game theory standpoint. You have complete control over the initiative. You can barter it away to people with coalitionary behavior. So you can engage in coalitionary behavior where you look at the other aggro player, you look at the gut player, and you're like, hey, how'd you like to forge your gut? How'd you like to trap somebody? They're never going to point the trap at you. Like, you're just gaining tons of life. So it's like kind of pointless. So you can basically trade it off with them for little bits of damage to promote your game plan against other people. And you still ultimately have control of the initiative, right? Like, you're still the one in the driver's seat, and you have all these evasive creatures that just get bigger. Yeah. And they come to, like, look at this curve. Like, let's go and take a look at this beautiful curve. Oh my God. Be Still My Beating Heart. It's gorgeous. And you still get to play amazing. That mono black's just nasty. So anyways, we're not going to get too much more distracted with that. Let's go back to the calculator here. So sample side for Krufix's Insight, like the way I see this card playing is that it's like turn 7, okay? It's like turn 7, and we need some action, okay? So let's just say that, because I'm not going to cast this on turn 3. I'm not going to like have to discard a hand size. So it's going to be turn 7 onward. So by turn 7, how many cards have we drawn? We played Satyr Enchanter either on 3 or on 4. So we've probably drawn like 5 extra cards. So if we go, so 5 from Satyr, and it's turn 7. So 7, 5, 12 plus 7 is going to be 19. So we will have seen 19 cards. That's our sample size, basically. Wait. Are we able to do this with this tool? Because what we're looking for is how many cards are we going to see? So if we did 99 minus 19... right, because that's actually the deck we're drawing from at that point. I think that's how this works. So we go 80 and then 6. That's what we want. Because we're not looking at opening hand. We're looking at how good is Krufix's Insight at hitting 3 enchantments every time. Because if it doesn't draw 3 enchantments, it's still good, but it's still quite good. But population of the deck is 99. Successes in the sample. Let's go take a look here. So we've got this, and let me close out of this thing here. We have 44. So let's just say 45, because I think we're going to add another one. Oh, did I mess something up here? Oh, yeah, 99. Successes in the population. 45. Oh, this is asking how many cards you want to draw. I want to draw 3. Sample size is 6. This is misleading though. It's not 80. It's 80, right? Because we've drawn through some cards already. So calculate. Okay, there we go. That's what we were looking for. So the chance of drawing 3 or more of the wanted card is 77%. That's high. That is high. I wish this had an extension that said draw 2, draw 1, that kind of a thing, but you know, it's still a really good tool even without that. So, do we like that? Like, say if we draw 4 and we have to bin one, that's kind of fine, right? It's strong. It's really strong. I think you're right, Angie, that it's a strong card. I just don't know whether we need it because every time I play this deck, I'm just flooded. I can't cast all the cards. You know, it's like no way can I cast all the cards. So I almost feel like, as strange as it sounds, it's almost overkill. Like, y'all have got me on some big brain shit with this particular iteration of Let's Tune. So I think, Angie, you've got a really good point about this, and maybe what I would be looking at if I was going to play Krufix's Insight is I would say that the better place for Krufix's Insight would be a deck where you play a lot, where you focus solely on cheap, right? If you play a lot of cheap stuff, maybe you play like, what's that white one that you can return to your hand? Type Aura, CMC equals 1, or we're gonna do MV equals 1. O return. Douglas says, if we looked at Imperial Armor and Cowed by Blessing. Oh, Imperial Armor. Douglas, bless you, friend. This is why we have chat. This is why you all are here. I come and I show you how I think, and you guys show me how you think. And you found something that was completely over my head. Imperial Armor is going to be disgusting in this deck. It's going to be like +5/+5, like on the regular. And Cowed by Blessing is the pacifism for 1 mana. So Vine Weft is the only card that we don't have that returns. Is that true? Is MV2 for Conviction? Yeah, Conviction. Or Sunclasp. I don't know, chat. What do you think about these? These are engines, right? Play it, return it, play it. So it's a 4 mana loop. It's a 4 mana loop to, is that right? So 2, draw a card, 1. So that's 3. And then 2. So it's actually 5. And there's Talons of the Wildwood. It's also pretty good. You can get it back over and over again. Yeah, I think these cards are casual. I think like they're fine. They're like powerful engines. They're nice toughness buffs, and they're a mana sink to draw cards. But I don't know. Like basically, my experience with the deck has been like these engines here are insanely strong. Where are they? Where are they? Yeah, these 3 right here are insanely strong. But so often, I just don't care. I'm just casting more spells. There could be an argument for, you know, because Gossamer Chains is, like Gossamer Chains could be something else. But I don't know. It's like Monarch. It's drawing an extra card. I don't know. I think I'm fine keeping these. I don't know. We need to mess with that. It's not a problem. Like that's not a problem we need to solve. What else do we have here? So we have one more spot, and really what we've been talking about is these two. And we haven't put any of the creatures that untap things, which I think, I don't know how you all felt about that, but I think they're pretty cool. Steel Leaf Paladin, I don't know why this card is here. Guardian Naga, it's not actually going to play. This Rampaging Elephant is a cool card, but you have to pay to provoke, and there's other provoke cards out there that are better. Like this Croson Wolverine, which I'm not going to lie, chat, this card is probably still like, both of these cards are still really good, right? I might be totally wrong not playing these. If you have like 2 of these in play and you just start to like mow down your opponent's creatures, just like the Abyss over and over and over and over again. The fact that one has first strike and the other one can only be blocked by one thing, it's pretty sick. I'm gonna put these in sideboard, and we need to have a little thunk about these ones. We are a mid-range deck. We are grinding. There's certain decks that can't win against a card like that. If we're able to get it going. I don't think Sunblade Samurai is going to make it. I think this is like another casual card. It's like cool, but and I think it's still strong. And it's wild, dude. Like I don't even know if you can build Satyr Enchanter to be like casual. Kind of seems like it's a little too good actually for casual, even if you build it as like a meme, because you're just gonna draw all these cards and your stuff's gonna be big, and like the floor on the worst cards we're looking at here is like high. Austin, long comment here. We got unrelated to the deck at hand, but I've seen a lot of decks running Opal Palace, but not Study Hall, including your most recent updates of Avalanche Caller, Trellisara, and TPI. Is there a reason? Yes, there is. I might be incorrect in TPI. TPI might be wrong. Actually, TPI is wrong. Yeah, let's just go fix that. Why don't we? I know I left it out intentionally, but I think lately... like the card advantage in TPI or Third Path Iconoclast, for those of you listening later on, is insane. It's just insane. Like I've had games where I've, do the curiosity combo and you draw 15 cards, it's like nuts, right? But that's not a proxy for just like having this effect that allows you to find one. So what Opal Palace or what Study Hall and Opal Palace do is that they give you these ways to convert your commander being recast in the late game into finding your next action. And I think that's really huge. So like when Study Hall was first printed, it completely changed the game for me in Witherbloom Apprentice, because I would like my Witherbloom Apprentice will have died like 5 times. And then I go and cast it for the 6th time with Opal Palace and Study Hall because I'm a ramp deck. And you're like, Scry 6. Like, Scry 6 is so broken. Like, what Scry 6 would read in that game is I would Scry 6, and I would find exactly what I needed to win the game, and I would win the game on the next turn cycle. Like regularly. Like, just, they're really strong. And so I think in TPI, this is good, because what TPI will do is, like, if we don't have cards in hand and TPI gets killed, then we Study Hall, Scry 4, find, keep, watch, cast it, draw 10 cards, right? That kind of a thing. So yeah, great recommendation. In terms of cards we cut for this, a little hard to say. 14-8. Let's go and take a look at this. I know we're bouncing all over the place, but this is how my brain works. I'm exceptionally ADHD, so deal with it. Red, untapped. Feels like we're a little light on red, but maybe I'm wrong. We're cut there. There we go. Okay, cool. In terms of the other decks you talked about, Avalanche Caller, Trellisara. Now, Avalanche Caller actually just has that much card advantage that it's okay. We don't need Study Hall. And in Avalanche Caller, too, you're trying to have snowlands. It's really important to have snowlands. Trellisara doesn't need it either. You just don't need it. Yeah. Trellisara scries too much to care about paying an extra mana in a deck that doesn't actually have that much mana. So it's going to be like, you're going to win a lot of games with Trellisara with like 6 lands, maybe. Angie says, if you have trouble playing all the cards you draw, then having the land untapper sounds pretty good. Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Yeah. So type creature, untap. If I was to do this, I would only play the cheapest ones. This new Portent tracker is really good. What is this? During your upkeep, put a... What is this card? Oh, you have to remove 2. Oh, you can only activate during your opponent's upkeep? God, these cards are weird, man. It's almost like they took a complicated game and made it more complicated for like no reason. Like I look at these cards sometimes and I'm like the old ones and I just don't understand why they made them so weird. It's like, why does it have to be during your opponent's turn? Why is it 2 counters? Like, this is awful. Sorry. No, this card is really bad. Voyaging Satyr and then Sculptor of Winter, maybe? Problem with Sculptor of Winter is that being a snowland is not going to be reliable. Maybe it is. I don't know. Either way, it's not a ton. Yeah, we'll put it in there anyways. Anything I missed there? Let me know if I missed any. I wonder what I would have to cut to get these cards in there. And actually, we can take Predatory Psi Hunger out because we've already got it in. This Dune Shaper is not going to make the cut. I don't think the Shield Make is going to make the cut. Karametra's Blessing is not going to make the cut. Urban Utopia is not going to make the cut. This Mage Mark is pretty cool, but I think ultimately this isn't actually translating to that big of a pump. Like if we have 3 creatures in play, this is like 3 power. It's like not that good. So yeah, this is definitely going to go. Serpent Skin, too expensive. Oakheart Dryads is cool, but like ultimately this is just like a form of prowess, right? That you can like distribute, which is sick. It's not nothing. But I think this is going to go in considering. Howl of the Hunt. We wouldn't play this. We'd play Triclopean Sight, I think. Maybe. So when you pay, so efficiency-wise, like how does this work? So 2 mana, +1/+1 vigilance. Every mana you spend is half a power. Howl of the Hunt, every mana you spend is like 0.75 power. 0.6 power. So it's a little more efficient to play Howl of the Hunt, except that Howl of the Hunt doesn't untap the creature right away, whereas Triclopean does. So we wouldn't play Howl of the Hunt. This goes into considering. Sigil of the... This is another creature I was looking at, but the problem is we don't have enough creatures in the deck. So this one actually doesn't play. Nylea's Presence doesn't tap for extra mana. Agreed. Yep. The only reason we would consider these cards is in the case of Abundant Growth. Or Unbridled Growth, maybe, because they're 1 mana, you know. We have to admit, though, Nylea's Presence is just 2 mana draw 2, you know. That fixes your mana. I don't think it's what we need, but... Oh, yeah. No, I know that, but that's okay. No, I'm glad you mentioned it. Sometimes other people in chat don't know, so I think we put that in considering. Break Ties is a really great card. I think Break Ties might actually be what we should play instead of Return to Nature. Yes. Yes. Okay. That's a good switch because I think that this card has like... I have a friend of mine that says, I'll stop playing Break Ties when Break Ties runs out of targets, and it never will. So it's going to go into Pump. It's going to go into Naturalize or Disenchant, I guess. Doesn't really matter. And then Graveyard. Chains of... Okay, cool. So yeah, we've done a... did we bring it in though? Wait. Oh no, we got to pull it into the main deck. Yep, there we go. Main deck. Good. Yeah, we've got some spicy questions here. Like, do we want more ramp? You know? Maybe these... Oh, you know what we should do? We should bring in the ramp creatures. Oh no, actually, so the ramp creatures are worse than the auras. They're worse because they're bad top decks, right? They don't draw us a card. Yeah, we're not going to play those. Who am I kidding? We do have space, though, for one more thing, and I think it's probably going to be Chains of Custody. We have, like, Buku protection in this deck. Which is maybe this is why we shouldn't play this, but I like that it's removal. I like removal. If you all don't know me, I think removal is great. And I love the idea of like drawing cards by killing my opponent's stuff. That just seems really good. Are there any other removal spells that we would play here over? Like we could play Alabaster Host Intercessor over Master's Rebuke. That actually seems kind of reasonable. I'm not sold on Master's Rebuke. I mean, it's a great card. It's a great card. It's just good. You know, these bite spells. But I like that this is a creature as well. Neither draws a card, so we're kind of like fine to swap them. Yeah, let's do it. Let's find this is okay. Like ram through, we get this like thing that comes along with it. Master's Rebuke, very good card. We're gonna put it in considering, and we're gonna play Alabaster Host Intercessor because I'm too hard for this card. We need to play it. It needs to be played. I think we're going to be very happy with it too. Okay. And then we still don't have Krufix's Insight. And I think I'm going to stick by that. I might be completely wrong here. 77% chance to hit 3 or more is really good. It's like really good. Oh, we haven't added Imperial Armor. Thank you, Douglas. I appreciate that. Appreciate you. +X where X is the number of cards in your hand. Like, fuck me up. Let's go. Like, that is way better than Hardened Scale Armor. We're not missing anything else, are we? Oh, okay. Okay, cool. Where did that go? Okay, this is going to go under Pump. Yeah, that card is going to be heavy. Man, I really, really want Croson Wolverine and these Tracker. I feel like this is a really unique thing that we get to do where we get to like do this over and over again to people. It's super oppressive. Like, so Angie, Angie points out the math you did earlier for Krufix was a bit wrong since you didn't take into account or take into consideration the enchantments you've already played early in the game. Actually, we did. Let's go back and look at that. So what we did is that I artificially lowered the population size because what we're asking is we're not asking what are our chances of getting a card in our opening hand. We're asking what are our chances of getting 3 or more at some arbitrary point in the game. So I said turn 7, right? Maybe could be turn 10. But here's the thing, turn 7 is like the earliest I can see casting this, right? And so by turn 7, what I said is let's presume we've played 5 enchantments and that we played our commander on either 3 or 4. And so 5 cards that we've drawn off Satyr, paired with 7 cards in our opening hand is 12, paired with 7 cards for being turn 7. That's 19. So 99 minus 19 is 80. 45 successes in the population. Sample size of 6 because we're digging 6 deep. So I think I did it right. What about 2? Okay, so at the very least, this is 3 mana, dig 6, draw 2, which is really good. That's a really good effect. And then those cards are going to draw more cards 95% of the time. So the floor here is we're always going to get 2 enchantments off this. We're going to dig 6. So maybe Krufix's Insight is just busted, too busted not to play. Like it's basically dig through time, right? Dig through time is 7. Take 2. But it's 2 mana, but like whatever. Potato, potato. Douglas says, also, Cowed by Wisdom is good control if we keep cards in hand, shuts off our opponent creature unless they have lots of mana, and it draws us a card. Yeah, so Cowed by Wisdom. I know the card. So this is just pacifism, but cheaper. Yeah, I mean, it's... Angie says, but there's 45 total enchantments in the deck, and if you've already played 5, you can't have 45 successes left. Oh, that's a really good point. Okay, yep, totally true. So that would make this 40. Let's go back and do that then. 66%. What about 2? 90%. Yeah, that's a good point. So we reduce this by 5 because yeah, I hadn't set our parameters right. Or I'd missed that we needed to reduce that a little bit. Okay. 66% chance of 3 or more. 33% chance of basically 33 of exactly 3. So 1/3 of the time you're gonna get exactly 3. 33% of the time you're going to get more than 3. And then that leaves 30% of the time you're only going to get 2, basically. Yeah, I might be wrong about this. It's just, I guess, like, every time I've cast this card, and this is just, like, experiential, but, like, every time I've cast this card, I was just so swamped in cards already that it was just like, I don't know, it just felt kind of ridiculous. And options are good. More cards is good. I'm probably wrong. One does not simply turn down card advantage because you already have it, right? And this works without the commander in play. So chat, now you get to tell me where we make cuts, okay? Because you can't just tell me about this and then leave me to figure out how to do this myself. Where are we making cuts? Pull up that list in the description below and tell me. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you think. While you all have a little think for yourselves. Yeah, no, Angie, I think that's a really good argument for it. It's like, it works without the commander, and I value that. Well, you guys have a think. I need to do some pull-ups. 1 second. Big Dirty says, did you put in Chomano's Blessing? Yep, we have Chomano's Blessing. Absolutely. Give me cuts. Give me cuts. We have 35 lands. And we have like 12 ramp spells. Is that right? Where's ramp? Why do I keep missing it? There it is. 12 ramp spells, so we're looking at 47 mana sources. Is Starnheim Courser good enough? Oh, it's enchantments, man. It's a flying creature that reduces the cost of almost half of our deck. Now, question is how many of those are Okay, so it doesn't reduce. Let's see what it doesn't reduce. It doesn't reduce 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Seven, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so it actually reduces the cost on it reduces the cost on 75% of our cards that are enchantments that are reducible. I think the fact that it's just a flyer that we can load up with stuff is really good. It's a good question, though. I don't really want to go down on threats, I'm not going to lie. Angelic Gift. This card's a little mopey, not going to lie. We don't have a ton of ways to grant evasion. Nexus Wardens, that actually does seem super reasonable. We have so much life gain, and a lot of it's repeatable. Squire's Devotion, Armadillo's Cloak, Spirit Link, and Lifelink. That's 5 ways to grant Lifelink. 6 if you count Squire's Devotion giving you another creature with Lifelink. And we have Heliod's Pilgrim, which can find all of them. So Nexus Warden goes. Nice thought, Angie, for sure. Yeah, you're killing it. Killing it. Considering. This is a deep protection suite. Holy crap. Super deep. All right, I think we're at a good spot here where we can start to do some play testing. Let me check the timestamp here. This is at, where's my stream settings? Where is the, maybe somebody can tell me how far in we are right now. I don't know. Anyways, okay. Opal Palace Plains Command Tower. That was sneaky. I almost didn't see that. This seems great. I like this hand a lot. Draw a card. I'm gonna go Command Tower. Oh, Forest is awesome draw. I think we are gonna wait on this. This is actually a card that when you have a hammer, it is much better. Like I'm talking about like a completely back-breaking spell. It's not correct often to play it for efficiency's sake. Not only do we lose out on the card draw if we play it right now on turn 2, but we're revealing our hand. We're for the sake of getting it out there, now that player who needs to kill us with commander damage is like, I need to do something about that. I need to find something to stop that. So Gossamer Chains might also be the same thing, so maybe that doesn't matter then. Maybe we just play it out. So yeah, we'll just do that in this case here, just because we actually have 2 of them. So yeah. Okay, Mask of Law and Grace. First thing we're going to do here is I think we want to run out the Starnheim Courser. And then next turn, oh, Yavimaya Enchantress is a great draw. We don't even have to play the Satyr Enchanter. We have so much action right now. Now, a lot of this turn 4 depends on the scenario, right? Because we have Mask and Law and Grace, and we can just run the Satyr out with Opal Palace, or we can Satyr and then Mask. But getting our commander killed right now wouldn't be that cool. It would not be that cool. Could play Yavimaya Enchantress and then hope to draw another land. We really need another land here. We need a ramp, some sort of ramp. So let's just do it this way. I admit that this play line here, right, is probably going to invite people to kill your thing, but let's just say for giggles that it doesn't. Okay, so we'll cast this. We're going to draw a card. There's our land. Okay. Next turn. Oh, that's such a good draw. So we're going to 1, 2, 3. Wait. Any combination. Holy crap. Actually, what I want is I want to put this on command tower. Right? This is like tap 3 to make. Actually, no, we don't want to do that because command tower is like really flexible to tap for 1 of any color. Let's see, like that. Okay, so we'll put all of this right here on this white land, like that. And we're going to draw a card. And at this point, we're not really wanting to play anything because we want to hold this protection up. Oh, it was actually reduced by 1 by the Starnheim Courser, so we'll leave this untapped. Now we can go 3 mana, cast the Yavimaya Enchantress, and this is now 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then let's say during our turn we have to protect something, so we do Blacksmith Skill, draw, wow. That's really good. We're going to just pay, oh, it's only 2 mana. 1, 2, yeah, we'll do 1, 2, play this Verdant Haven on here. It's 2 mana because of the Starnheim Courser. We're going to draw a card. Courser already just looking super good here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, turn 6, so we're going to play this land out. We have 3, 5, 6, 7. So I think what we do now is we're going to go 1, 2, 3 to cast Captured by Lagax and kill one of their things, basically. So we're going to draw a card. And then we're going to distribute these counters, and we're going to go these 2, I think, on the Starnheim Courser, like that. And then we have the Nature's Embrace, which we can, so we have 1, oh, this Captured by Lagax is actually less mana. This messes up the math. 1, 2, so we do like 1, 2, yeah, 1, 2, 3, pay 2 for that, and then 1 more to cast a Nature's Embrace. And let's load up the Satyr Enchanter. I don't think actually, we'll do the Starnheim Courser. We'll do that. 1, 2, that's going to draw another card. Now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 auras. So this is 1, 1, 2, 1, 2. And then we have 1, 2, 3 mana available, and no protection spells. So maybe we just like go full hog and we run out, yeah, we'll run out Gossamer Chains, draw a card, add a thing here. Angelic Wings is great. We probably have to pay mana to reduce some attacks here. Oh, the +1/+1 counters need to be split up. So this is a 5/5. Yeah. All right. End of turn. I bet this thing dies. Not gonna lie. So like that. Play a land. We're gonna go 1, 2, because we're not gonna be recasting our commander. Gonna go. Actually, no, what we want to do is draw first. So we're gonna go Bound in Gold. Kill something. Oh, and we probably returned this to our hand last turn as well because we were stopping an attacker and we want to be able to reuse this every turn. So we're going to go 1, 2, Gossamer Chains. And we're not going to play this yet. Gossamer Chains, draw a card. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then we'll go 1, 1, 2, using the Opal Palace for that second one for making white white. So I'm gonna cast using the white. We're gonna go Angelic Gifts. Wait, no. The main thing is what we're seeing here is that the deck is working. This is functioning, which I don't expect to be a problem usually, but just a good thing to check. So green, draw, plains, pass. Not a blistering start by any means. Opal Palace, run out. Yeah, this is very threat light. I will say that. Very threat light. Because this grafted growth is going to go on nothing, basically. So we'll put grafted growth on here. And then draw, play a land. We don't have any way to protect our commander either. So that's not that great. I don't like this hand actually at all now. It had the mana it needed, but it's like, it only has this one threat. And it doesn't have any way to protect our Satyr Enchanter, which we would also be loading up with Snake Umbra, I presume, and all that. That's one thing I think we're going to be looking at for this deck, is that we just may need to be, you know, coming back in and juicing up this number a little bit. The 13 is really low. 13 is really low. And we're going to find them by drawing lots of cards, but we can only draw cards if we can play auras, right? So maybe the protection needs to go down a little bit. Is there anything that's like superfluous? I mean, break ties in a way is super flexible and it's powerful, but we have like a lot of ways to deal with like things, right? Like Chains of Custody is a naturalize, Oblivion Ring is a naturalize. Did I put this under creatures? Yeah. Yeah, we definitely need more creatures. Blessed Hippogriff could come in for another protection spell. So let's do that. We'll go... Douglas says, did you look at the Broken Fall or Bequeathal? Yeah, Bequeathal is interesting. Yeah, potential like 1 mana draw 3. Yeah, Bequeathal, for those of you who don't know, is one green enchantment, or when that creature dies, draw 2 cards. So we're going to get a card off of it. This is a lot of cards. It's definitely a lot of cards. But it's kind of a do-nothing card as well that our opponents only... Like, our opponents have... It's a Punisher effect, right? Because our opponents have choice a lot of times around it. But it is cool to put it on our commander. You know, we like... Maybe that's why we like it. Maybe instead of playing protection, we play that. But of course, if we cast it and they kill it in response, then it's like, bleh, bleh. I mean, I could cut Apostle's Blessing. I think this is cuttable. This is a good card, but we're gonna cut it. We need to get creatures in here. So even Bequeathal is kind of like against the ethos of what we need to be doing. Flaming Fist is good, but I gotta be honest, I don't like loading up the Satyr Enchanter with stuff. There's a lot of cards with Bestow. Yeah, maybe that's exactly where we want to be, because it's both a creature and an aura. It's just that they're so bad a lot of times. They usually have keywords, which is cool. So Hopeful Eidolon actually is kind of sick. Yeah, Hopeful Eidolon's good. Bestow costs are just absurd, though. Look at these, dude. 4 mana. Blah. Blah. I hate it. So what's nice about these, though, is that early you need bodies, and that's when they're cheap. Late, you want auras, and that's when they're expensive, but you can pay for it. So I think these are actually where we want to be. Now, it doesn't need to be Bestow. We could also just go, what if we did type enchantment type creature. Let's just see how many of those there are. 29. Oh. Oh, it's awful. Never mind. I mean, this is where Fang of Shingeki was in the deck, you know? It's why it was in the deck. I'm kind of thinking Hopeful Eidolon's probably like a slam dunk. God, Greater Tanuki is so sick in this deck. But it's also just like... Leaf Crown Dryad's also pretty cheap. I don't really care super much about the... I just want, like, the keywords. I just want it to, like... Oh, that one is. Huh, that's funny. Angie says you could cut the pro red-black enchantment. Yeah, you know, honestly... I am just a really not big fan of like sorcery speed protection spells because it just like Mask of Long Grace to so many decks says you can't kill my commander anymore. And so when people look at that, if they have the opportunity to kill it and to 2-for-1 you, the upside is huge and the downside of not doing it is also huge. So it's like everything points you to just doing it. So it's like I just hate how it invites you to get 2-for-1. In this deck, it's not a 2-for-1 entirely because we're going to draw another card, but like we wanted our commander. We don't want to lose it. Which of these creatures do we like the most? Nyxborg Shieldmate is like 1 mana, which is nice. The Bestow is reasonable. It has no keywords. This one is Vigilance, which is nice. This is a 2-4. You could play the Chungus. Embrace our inner Timmy. I think we do want cheaper. So like Leaf Crown Dryad. Fang of Shingeki seems really good to me. With so few creatures to be on blocking duty, it's a good rattlesnake. Okay. I'm just thinking that like what if Fang of Shingeki instead was something that we could buff something else up with? Because Fang of Shingeki is only and always ever going to be a creature. It's never going to be an aura. Whereas, like, these other things can make other things big, which I like. Hopeful Eidolon's a slam dunk. It's like 1/1 for 1. Bestow for 4 kind of blows, but it's whatever. I mean, Lifelink is nuts. It's really good. We have lots of removal, so maybe that's actually what we care about. Reach would also be fine, and it's like a 2/2 for 2. This one's pretty good. We could also play this Golden Tail Disciple, which is like only a little bit below the curve. But I really want to keep the curve low on these creatures so we can play them out and then play our creature. Right? Like I want to play these before our commander. Even Shieldmate. And I know Death Touch is cool, but like what's a Vigilance one too? This one? Shieldmate's kind of my preference here. You know, honestly though, like I guess that's where we kind of come back to like, do we actually need it to be another aura? Let's do Fang of Shingeki. All right, cool. All right, so we just added a bunch of creatures. What about Jungle Board Pioneer? Is this a hexproof creature like premium? Yeah, let me know, chat. Let me know what you think. The hexproof creature could be really cool. It's also like, what about hexproof type creature? and just see what comes up there. If there's something like, yeah, like Glade Cover Scout, like this is better than Jungleborn Pioneer. We're definitely playing Glade Cover Scout instead. Because Glade Cover can come down before Satyr, because what we want to do is go like turn 1 ramp spell or creature, turn 2 ramp spell or creature, one of the two, and then have like enough mana to cast Satyr with a protection spell, and then on that following turn, then we start loading up on that creature. So like this is not nearly as good as just playing Glade Cover. And then Fang of Shingeki's in, good. Gotta switch this atrocious art here. There we go. And we have to cut 2 cards now because we've gone up on creatures by 2. So like Mask of Lawn Grace is gonna go. Angelic Gift seems pretty good. Is there anything else that... Well, no, we're looking for cuts. We could cut potentially a ramp spell. This is a lot. In fact, we could cut 2 ramp spells and it would be okay. What are our worst ones then? Anything that doesn't have like another relevant ability? Like, oh, Glittering Frost doesn't work because we don't have Snowlands. And it doesn't do anything else. Yeah, Glittering Frost is like... I mean, there's also an argument for cutting these 4 mana ones because we really want to play these out early. So type, aura, function. Oh! Oh, never mind. This is artifact or creature. Oh, that would have been so sick. I guess Careful Cultivation can go on our commander, allow us to tap for mana, and get a big buff. I think we have the best ones here. Yeah, we do. So I think we're going to cut the Glittering Frost. That's an easy cut. Because it's like we could have Snowlands, but it's fine. The 4 mana ones are more efficient mana-wise than the 3 mana ones that give an extra mana. Yeah, they're significantly more efficient, like by a lot. You're paying 1 more mana and doubling up. And obviously in that last game it was nuts. I was just thinking about for curve reasons, like 4 mana ramp isn't that helpful in the early game. So really we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pieces of ramp that are relevant early on. Okay, let's try that. I'm also going to be really interested in having more provoke creatures in here, just like flat out. This is a great hand. We're going to go this. I'm going to play this, and I think we just go... Let's just play out the Whip Silk. And actually, we're going to play out this forest here. We're just going to play this out because we can always... Oh, we have to return it to hand, though. So no, we'll just leave it open. Draw. We still don't have protection, but we can sure pretend like we have it. So we'll go Blighted Burgeoning here. On this, we're going to make an incubation token. And then we'll pass the turn. Draw. Oh, that was a really good draw. That was a really good draw. So now we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 mana. I kind of like the idea of going 1, 2, 3. And we've got lots of lands, so I'm like comfortable doing this. We're going to tap 5, cast our commander, cast Glade Cover Scout, cast Whip Silk, draw a card. We're going to cast it targeting our commander. Actually, no, we're going to cast it targeting this because we need it to resolve and not lose this thing. So we draw that. Yep, and then it's possible that our commander dies because of the Whip Silk now. So let's just do that. We've got lots of forests, but we got our mana is fine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we can cast our commander and hold up protection. Like that. Recast commander. This is pretty slow, but it's okay. So I don't think anybody's going to go to kill it right now, but we have protection for it. So now what we will do, we have just a handful of removal right now. 1, 2. Oh, there we go. Oh my god. So let's do this. We're going to tap all 3 of those to cast this. Yep, and then we're going to tap all these. There we go. And this is going to be untapped. We're going to draw a card. And it's going to +1/+1 counter on this. And then we're going to go tap 2. Cast Realm Breaker's Grasp to just nerf something and draw a card. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we're going to play our 6th land. So we have 3. Actually, we'll do this one here. 2 mana. Let's just also kill another thing because we just want to draw cards. Oh, this is nice. The Incubate token is actually a creature as well that we can load up. That was a good draw. Okay, so now we pass turn. Oh, sorry, didn't mean to draw that. And then we're going to go land. I think what we want to do is go Aura Gnarlid. And then I want to go 1, 2, 3 for Broken Fall. Draw. Chains of Custody, not... Well, that'll be nice with the Aura Gnarlid. Aura Gnarlid's going to be a target here. People are going to try and kill this, so that's where our Blacksmith skill is going to be nice. So what we'll do is somebody goes to try and kill it. We float 2... No. Somebody goes to kill it, and we go Blacksmith skill. And then end of turn, we're going to pay 2, and we're going to flip this. Becomes a creature. And then we're going to draw. Wow, also a good draw. So we'll do that. We'll go Chains of Custody. We could also, you know, like Broken Fall. We could like start cycling Broken Fall. That's actually a better thing to do. So let's regenerate this. And then play it because we want to keep our answers. We want to keep our removal in hand. So draw, stave off for protection. We'll go 1, 2, 3, return this, regenerating that, play it again, draw. Captured by Lagak. Man, so much removal. It's a little redundant even. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now we're going to go 1 for Deathblade Elite. Yeah, Deathblade Elite. Now this Aura Gnarlid is big. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's quite large. Alternatively, we could do this. Oh, we didn't leave the right mana open. Yeah. Actually, we did. We'll float white. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're going to cast, or we'll just, yeah, we'll do that. We've got a white floating. We're going to go Chains of Custody, targeting Aura Gnarlid. And they're going to say, no, you can't kill it. So we're going to go stave off. And we're going to draw a card, of course. And then this will be protected, and we'll have a thing. Ward 2. Yeah, so this is pretty sweet. This is working. I mean, turn 9, like, we're not in a rush to win, but, like, this is definitely going to win us the game, this Aura Gnarlid. And we've got a great engine here. You know, next turn, you know, like, we've killed so many different things in this game. So, like, we're going, like, Journey to Nowhere, draw a card, you know, captured by Lagak, draw a card, and we're going to put counters on this and this. And then pay 1 for Rancor on Glade Cover Scout. 1, 1. Yeah, I mean, this is sweet. This is sweet. I'm pretty happy with where we're at. I think the big things we're going to be looking for in the future are, do we want provoke creatures? Do we want more creatures in general? Like, do we want 20 creatures? Or maybe 17 or something. Just like 2 more. I think these bestow creatures are actually a lot better than I thought about at first, because they're early game, you get them out. Mid game, if you need more creatures, they come out and they draw a card. Or late game, you can aura them up onto things for a premium. So I think they work nicely with our plan. And I'm very interested in potentially including more of those in the future. You know, it could be that something like, frankly, like the Broken Fall, Gossamer Chains, Whip Silk, these are like, they're like engines that are cool, but like there's a part of me that thinks that just like have an enchantment that's also a creature, you know. Yeah, have an enchantment that's just a creature. Like Gossamer Chains draws 1 card a turn and it stops something from hitting you, which is good. So we also cut a land, but lands are important. I think lands are very important. Yeah. Break Ties is a fine spell to have in here. I'm not like super convinced we need it. We have so many ways to deal with artifacts and enchantments, particularly artifacts. Graveyards are like, you know, it's a thing that we can't really deal with that well, or that we're choosing not to deal with that well. It has Reinforce, which we can pump something up, but I don't know. It's like kind of like feels like Relic a bit, to be honest. We might be too deep in the life gain. That's possible. But I mean, we're not going to go down on it. We have like Hopeful Eidolon does that now too. Alabaster Host Intercessor is also a creature. So yeah, well, so maybe that's actually where we can cut. Maybe we cut the Intercessor and we just bring in another enchantment creature. Yeah, Intercessor's so good, but like we need more creatures that come down early. So we need to go, yeah, type enchantment, type creature, and I think it's the Shield Mate. If this didn't have Defender, man, I guess it's 2 mana 3/3 would be way too good. This is interesting. Huh. This is on target creature. You can give target creature trample. That's cool. Huh. I really want 2 mana though. I want them to be 2 mana. Oh, target enchantment creature. Thank you, Douglas. Yeah, that's this is not good. Never mind. It is quite bad. The Vigilance is pretty cool, I gotta say. Very tempted by this. Bestow is so foul on this, but like, it's on curve. Oakheart Dryads does not bestow. Never mind. I so wish it was target creature. Yeah, I mean, it would be really good, granting trample every turn. I mean, there's other cards that can do that, but like those cards aren't 3 mana enchantment creatures. They're like 5 mana. Like there's a bunch of them, like your Nylea's Forerunner. I mean, this card is insane. It's just this 5 mana. It's like, we don't have a lot of ways to give trample, you know, and there's also Humbler of Mortals. So maybe these are what we want to be doing, but I just want to be able to hold up my mana, you know, I want to be able to protect things. And so Humbler of Mortals is like, we have to have 7 mana to do that. Nylea's Forerunner, we have to have 6 mana minimum, might be even more, because if we have a 2, protect for 2. I think that it's just Nyxborn Shieldmate. It might look weird because it's like, yeah, don't you want +2/+2 in Vigilance? But like, this is a third of the mana for a creature that's almost the same size, that's still going to draw a card, and the Bestow is a lot cheaper. But it's 1 mana. It comes down before the Satyr. Yeah. We could also do Skolka Grove Dancer. This is like a weird one because I don't care about this ability at all, but it doesn't bestow. So yeah. All right, cool. That answers that question then. And let's go and wrap that one in there. Awesome. Well, you know what, chat? I think we're in a good spot here. I think this is really good. There's some cards that we had some like productive discussions about that I think are perfectly reasonable to play if you choose to do so. Oh, we still have Flaming Fist, don't we? Oh. All right. This is the one other card that I was thinking about, wasn't it? So Flaming Fist is only going to work on our commander, and frequently we don't want to enchant our commander with pump. We want to put protection on our commander so that it's hard to kill, but we want to pump other stuff so that we don't like incentivize. We never want to create more reason to kill our Satyr Enchanter. Double Strike is really gross. I mean, there's cards in our deck that with Double Strike win the game. Like if we have Ethereal Armor on our Satyr and we play Flaming Fist, we're going to kill somebody in one shot, right? I don't think this is the right card for the slot. I want a Double Strike so bad, chat. So bad. But you gotta... This is not actually a pump effect, okay? Gotta be ruthless with this stuff, you know? Be really serious about, what is it that we're trying to do? Okay. Would we rather have more evasion? Wait, is Hopeful Eidolon in the deck? Yeah, it is. Okay. Blessed Hippogriff is a possibility. But again, like mana cost is really important to me here. And this is actually where the untappers, the land untappers come in. They're pretty sweet, right? Like they come in, they ramp us, they give us a body, and then we can equip them with stuff. And they don't have any, they're not like special, but like I think that makes them all the more unsatisfying to kill later on. So like Arbor Elf, Voyaging Satyr, Portent Tracker would be like kind of the 3. Steward of Valoron, honestly. Steward of Valoron is so tight. This card is nuts. Like ramps, has a keyword, it's on curve, doesn't draw when it comes in, but that's okay. We have 47 other cards that do. So maybe what we want to do here. Okay, no. I've got what I want to do here. Okay, main deck, this is going to go ramp. And we're going to go... Do we want to do these 3 and then cut? I think what I want to do is cut some of these. What's the worst one? Sheltered Eyrie. Definitely. Considering. Okay, and then we're going to bring in Arbor Elf, and then maybe Steward of Valoron. It's kind of like splitting the difference a little bit. Yeah. Steward of Valoron's good. Vigilance is good. Yeah, we're going to main deck this. This is also a creature. Main deck. Arbor Elf is going to be creature. It's also ramp. This is going to go main deck. All right, I like this. 17 creatures now, plus our commander. So 18 because we have the colony garden. Yeah, I think this is where we want to be. So $35 deck, chat. Pretty damn cool if you ask me. Like very competitive. Like I would totally take this to a tournament if someone forced me to do it. I'd probably play TPI instead, but that's just because I like TPI. I think power level wise, they're both really good decks. So there's really no comparing there. But I think with that, I think we're gonna wrap things up. So first and foremost, yeah, Douglas says I'm very happy with it. Great, that's I love to hear it, and I really appreciate it, Douglas. Both you and Angie and everyone else in chat here have had some really awesome recommendations and some good catches, and I'm eager to see if you all just play the deck and let me know how it goes. Tell me what feels good, what feels bad, and of course, if you're not part of the Discord server, go join the Discord. It's an amazing community of people in there. You can play games at any time with anybody in the world with no cards. Like it's insane. It's revolutionary, right? And of course, if you enjoyed this content, please just do the free thing and hit that like button. Let us know that you enjoyed the content. If you have feedback for us, for Clay and I, on how we can make these videos better, then leave it in the comments or feel free to DM me in Discord. It's just, I think it's going to be in the future, hashtag Pauper or at Pauper. They're moving away from hashtags and into at in Discord, just like everything else. If you're not part of the Discord, the link is in below to join. I want to thank all the patrons without listing their names right now, but I do want to thank all the patrons for your contributions to this project. And if you too are interested in joining our Patreon and supporting this thing that we're doing, then go and check it out. It's patreon.com/common connoisseurs. Trying to think if there's anything else I want to cover for now. If you haven't heard me say it yet, I'm on 2 days a week right now, so Mondays and Fridays for different things. And yeah, we're going to be pushing forward with that pretty consistent from now on. So yeah, okay. Well, with that said, thank you all for coming. It's been wonderful having you all here. Thank you for your engagement and for just hanging out. It's been a blast. So with that, connoisseurs of fine common cardboard, wherever you are in the world, good evening, good afternoon, good night, and we'll catch you on the battlefield. Peace out.